Hello again. Today I want to talk to you a bit about secret or arcane knowledge, and there's a lot of interest in that, and there always has been, there especially is now, but unfortunately, to a great extent, this is linked to um, the cult of personality, to what I refer to as carpetbaggers and snake oil salesmen. This isn't a new thing. I'm not saying that everybody who's advertising themselves to be wanting to teach or pass on knowledge that is occult or little known are fake. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that there's a huge number of fakers out there, a huge number of people who become very rich, very successful, very well known based on lies and based on their personality, the strength of their personality, their charisma. They're often very glamorous as well, a lot of these people. And the way they work is very clever. It's really about emotional investment. If you can get people emotionally invested in what you have to say through your charisma, your charm, and sound very convincing, once people start to trust you, you can pretty much tell them anything, any old crap, and they will believe it if you sound convincing enough. And that is how con men down centuries, millennia, have been making lots of money out of naive people, people who want to believe something. And once you've, as I said, got them emotionally attached, they really trust you and want to believe what you have to say. They suspend their critical thinking. They don't actually use logic anymore. And that's the trouble. When you separate logic from your thinking, when you become emotional and you're purely functioning on instinct or on emotion and not using logic at all, you're in a dangerous place. In truth, if we live purely logically, that's not particularly sensible either. But far more dangerous than that, I would say, is throwing logic out the window, because it leaves you vulnerable to being exploited. A really famous example would be Franz Mesmer. The word mesmerism comes from Franz Mesmer. If you don't know who he is, I'd suggest you watch the film. I think it's called Mesmer, starring Alan Rickman. It's fantastic. It's a sort of potted history of his life and what he tried to do. He was incredibly popular at one time, and he was proven to be a faker. And yeah, as a result of that scandalous episode in history, we have the word mesmerism. Which basically means that you've been put under some kind of spell, which is pretty much what happens with a lot of these personality cult people. You're mesmerized and you believe what they tell you. And some people manage to wake up from it. Other people are stuck in it for their whole lives. A more recent example of this kind of carpetbaggery would be Scientology. Ron L. Hubbard was a science fiction writer, and he decided to invent a religion, and that's exactly what he did very successfully, and that is still going today. I mean, if you look at it with any kind of rational judgment, it's quite transparent that it is just a cult and extremely dangerous. The people get sucked in. They're looking for something. People look for something to fill a void in their lives. And you could look at more recent examples in the political field, things like QAnon, which a lot of people who supported Trump latched onto, which was clearly a hoax, really. There was nothing concrete there at all. But, you can connect disparate things. You can connect the dots, if you like, and make things that don't really have a connection look as if they do. And if you sound plausible and convincing enough, people will just take you at face value, unfortunately. That's not to say that all conspiracies are fake. Giving two examples of conspiracies that are actually true would be the weapons of mass destruction hoax of the Iraq War. Pardon me. The basis for going to war there was the weapons of mass destruction. And some strange things happened during that time period. I think a Professor Kelly died in a rather unfortunate accident. I think he drove into a wall at great speed somehow. Not being a suicidal type, it did seem rather suspicious. And he never got to give the evidence that this was all rubbish, that the weapons of mass destruction didn't exist. And of course, later on, we found out that, of course, they didn't exist. There was nothing, absolutely nothing. And the whole basis of that war, which led to, well, initially over 1 million Iraqis dying, was rubbish. And then in the aftermath of that, Iraq is still a terrible mess. Millions of people have suffered and died as a result of this. And the lie about Saddam Hussein's weapons of mass destruction was the main pretext for that war, which we still see the repercussions of that now. It hasn't really come to an end. Another example would be the NSA and the spying. Edward Snowden is now in Russia because he'd probably be in prison or executed if he was still in the States. But he did the public a great service by revealing the truth about the extent of monitoring and surveillance on the public, which, a lot of people had tried to suggest this before, but it was dismissed as conspiracy. Oh, you're just nuts, you're paranoid, this is all rubbish. Well, that was a conspiracy that actually turned out to be true. They were spying on people and collecting data without permission and using that data to monitor people's lives. So, that's two examples that were genuine. But then you've got a whole bunch of people who are selling people snake oil. If you think of that's a great example, I think, because you think of the Wild West and the guy in the top hat, telling you it'll cure baldness. Oh God, I wish it would. I'd get some snake oil if it really did work. All kinds of mad claims, and it's just crap. Just a solution made up of all kinds of rubbish. Maybe there might be a few herbs, some sugar in it. God knows, but they know it doesn't work. And if it does work at all, it'll only be because of the placebo effect, because people have such faith in it that actually if they're ill they might get better purely based on the belief that they are going to recover, and it have nothing to do with the snake oil at all. So these same principles are employed over and over again by charismatic con men and con women who make a lot of money. Especially, you'll find all these people will have a very flashy, expensive looking website, and they'll probably offer lots of seminars and courses and such like, usually staged out in 2, 3, 4 sort of groupings of courses, so that once you've got into it, you'll want to come back for more, and you'll part with larger and larger amounts of money, and they manage to make a very nice living for themselves. And you'll notice that generally they don't offer anything for free, or if they do, it's something very, very small as a sweetener to get you in the door. And once they've got your confidence, once you trust them and you're, as I said before, emotionally invested in this person, you'll tend to believe anything they have to tell you, which is rather unfortunate. And this has been going on for millennia, absolutely, long before Christianity. I mean, you'll see it in Christianity with some of these ridiculous churches where, you know, the leader of the church is driving a Rolls Royce and has got 15 houses and all that kind of thing. But you see it in all walks of life. Alien conspiracies, you know, alien religion, paganism, cults within every major religion. So one example that I came across is from this book, The Golden Ass, Apuleius. Now, there's a character called Lucius in this, and at one point he's transformed into a donkey. This was written actually about 2nd century AD, so it's some 1800 and 1900 years old. Anyway, during his travels as a donkey, he's still sentient. He can understand everything, but he can't communicate. He ends up with a bunch of pagan priests who go around the country selling their wares, but they're actually a bunch of drunkards and perverts, and they're just exploiting people. Of course, him as a donkey, he gets to see them as they really are, not as they present themselves to the public. So there you go. This is nearly 2,000 years ago. This kind of carry-on was going on, and it's recorded very amusingly in that book, The Golden Ass, I just showed you. So I highly recommend that book. It's very interesting, esoteric book, but it's also quite funny as well in places. And there's a lot of wisdom within it too. So you can pick up Wordsworth edition of that for a very small price, even cheaper if you buy it second hand. So there you go. The cult of personality, the carpetbaggers, the snake oil salesman, all offering something special, something unique, something that only they know, something that's special, makes them special, and you need to sign up, you need to spend your money with them. It's all the same quackery. It's been going on for centuries. Don't be fooled by it. Use your discernment, use logic, and use your gut instinct too. Quite often people might have a bad feeling about this, and then they look at the smiling face and the charisma and the lovely clothes and the lovely smile and all that, and think, oh no, this person's lovely. If your instinct is telling you there's something wrong, then probably there is something wrong. And if you find yourself being asked to part with huge sums of money, that's another thing that should be ringing alarm bells. So I advise you, if in doubt, investigate things for yourself. As much as possible, you should try to be your own teacher rather than relying on somebody else. And just be careful. Don't get suckered in by carpetbaggers. Okay, that's it. Take care. Bye-bye.